What's going on, y'all? Welcome into another edition of Mavs Latest. I am Josyah Howard. This is where you're going to get all the latest with the Dallas Mavericks. And today, I wanted to start with this article I saw. It's on Sports Illustrated, and it details that essentially Cooper Flag, the pretty much the slated number one overall pick to the Dallas Mavericks in this NBA draft, is an awkward fit for the Dallas Mavericks. Now, this is from a piece from Zach Harper of The Athletic. So I'll just read some of the things that he detailed in the piece just to make a couple points. He always is going to be the number one pick. And not even Nico Harrison would pick anyone except him with the top selection, especially after the year Nico has had endured, self-inflicted, of course. Flag is clearly the top prospect in this draft, and is the most ready to play, which I agree with. I've said this on this program. He'll fit in right away on defense, as I think he'll be able to defend multiple positions. But I think he's going to be the logjam with the rest of the Mavs front court. Derek Lively II, Anthony Davis, Daniel Gafford, PJ Washington, and Cooper Flag. Not to mention Najee Marshall, whose best position is small forward. That's a great front court, but you're asking Flag to play out of position for now. Flag is the kind of player you want to build around, so you bring him in and get the players to fit around him, not the other way around. The Mavs have a nice core, but they may not have the right players to put around him right now. Therefore, the Mavs may need a creative way to find other players that make more sense for Cooper Flag. Now, the overall sentiment of this, I agree with. I do think they have a logjam at the front court adding Cooper Flag. And in a past episode, I did bring up that I think probably PJ Washington and Daniel Gafford's are the guys that are going to be out of town after this, because especially PJ Washington, I think him and PJ Washington are the same role on this team. I just think Cooper Flag is going to be able to play at a higher level. Period. End of story. So I do think someone like a PJ Washington is out of here. I do think a guy like Daniel Gafford is possibly out. They bring up Najee Marshall, and you're talking about a guy like Cooper Flag. I mean, personally, I think Najee Marshall is a really nice player. I really do. But if you have to move on from him to make a move that makes the team fit better around Cooper Flag, you got to do it. You just have to do it. Now, you bring up Anthony Davis. I think Cooper Flag and Anthony Davis are going to fit tremendously next to each other. I think Cooper Flag is going to be an elite small forward, but a serviceable power forward. I think the league is going to try to get to use him at power forward as much as they can. That's what he fits on a prototype level. But with this team, if you put him at the 3, AD at the 4, Derek Lively II at the 5, that's not only size, but that puts AD back at the power forward, which he's historically over and over again said, I want to play power forward. So therefore, you kind of have to trade the redundancy on the team. And if you got to pick between Derek Lively and Daniel Gafford, you got to trade Daniel Gafford. And if you got to trade between PJ Washington and Cooper Flag or Najee Marshall, you probably got to see where the value's at with PJ Washington, who has shown that he could play a really valuable role on a really good contending team. He was honestly the Mavericks' third best player in that championship run last year, maybe their fourth best player. So you can get some value for him. But when you're talking Cooper Flag, that's where you got to sit back and say, all right, I am going to have a front court logjam and have a plan to who you're going to move on from. But there's people with value on this roster. They're going to be able to make moves, and I think they are definitely planning on doing it. But this all revolves around Cooper Flag at the end of the day. And, speaking of Cooper Flag, the Dallas Mavericks are planning on hosting a 2025 NBA draft party with most likely the obvious intentions of drafting Cooper Flag. So we are about 2 weeks away from the draft. Dallas will host this draft party from American Airlines Center featuring legends like Ronaldo Blackman, Nick Van Exel, Josh Howard, and the 1981 number one overall pick, Mark Aguirre. The event will also include a special appearance by Dallas Wing star and number one overall pick, Paige Beckers, who's honestly one of my favorite players, not male or female, to play basketball. So that's going to be an amazing time. As they're preparing to make the announcement that Cooper Flag will be the next face of their franchise. They add a little bit of Flag statistics here from college: 19.2 points, 7.5 boards, 4.2 assists, 1.5 steals, 1.5 blocks, 48% from the field, 38% from three. Now, in college, that's pretty efficient for somebody who's a jump shooting player. I think coached up and getting the right reps and the right system, the right scheme, I think he's someone that could easily shoot over 50% from the field in the NBA and shoot over 40% from three in the NBA. Shoot 85% from the line in the NBA. I think that's really his ceiling. It's really going to be exciting to see where Cooper Flag could get to, because I do think he could be a franchise guy. And I've said this before. You have an AD in the building, you have a Kyrie in the building, you have a Jason Kidd in the building now. You're obviously past all of that drama with the coaching stuff and the Knicks, and I think now you sit back and say, all right, we got Cooper, let's focus on Cooper. And you kind of have to shift your mind into trade options. And like we kind of brought up earlier, you got to kind of figure out that log jam. And, I was doing a little bit of research for this show, and we're just gonna go over some fun trade ideas that I saw online today. That I don't know they would necessarily happen, but I'm gonna let you know what they are. Leave a note in the comments if you think the Mavericks should attempt to do this. So, CBS sports writer Sam Quinn named the Mavericks as a potential landing spot for Kevin Durant if they're willing to move on from Anthony Davis. Now, Sam writes, the sort of depth and interior defense it would cost to get Kevin Durant at a point like this would likely doom any championship hopes that a Kyrie Irving, Anthony Davis, and Kevin Durant trio might have, but believes Flag could replace it, and there's an argument to be made that now is the time to push for a championship. After all, they don't control their first-round picks between 2027 and 2030, and you don't have an immediate path to rebuild around Flag's timeline anyway unless they go the other way and trade Anthony Davis. Now, the Mavs are head over heels for Anthony Davis, and they're willing to trade Luka Doncic to get their hands on him. With that being said, could they feel that way about Kevin Durant? Now, would they do it as a reunion for Kevin Durant and Kyrie as the redemption tour from the Brooklyn Nets? Pretty unlikely, but it would be fun to see Cooper Flag and Kevin Durant together. This is interesting. It's all in good fun, but I wouldn't trade Anthony Davis for Kevin Durant at this point. I think Anthony Davis fits more of what you're doing. And you're getting Cooper Flag. I think Cooper Flag plays similar to Kevin Durant. I think they have a lot of the same tools and the same mindset, the same game, the same bag. I just don't think that really is a good fit together. I think the Mavericks are actually on their way to paving a pretty solid, strong starting lineup coming into this season, just adding Cooper. And, it is fun to bring up a potential trade for Kevin Durant, but I don't really think that is in the cards. Uh, Another thing I saw, Udonis Haslam on ESPN, he called out Luka Doncic, and the reasoning behind the Mavericks trading Luka Doncic. He says, I mean, we've talked about Luka Doncic, all his accolades and what he's accomplished, but everybody, excuse me, doesn't have Luka Doncic's talent. Everybody can't get it done the way he gets it done. And this is Udonis talking about Luka. But I'm gonna let Luka come in and be in shape and do what he does, and I'm gonna expect the other 15 guys to be in shape in his locker room. What kind of example am I setting as a coach? That's how your locker room starts to turn to you. Um, the Mavericks have had several deep playoff runs, but Doncic's defensive weaknesses got exposed in those games, and that cost them dearly. Nico, in his press conference announcing the trade, obviously famously said, "Defense wins championships." I'm gonna refer to that a lot on this because I just think it's kind of funny. Um, but Udonis then adds, "Why do we have to guard and defend, and Luka does not have to guard and defend?" And that's when you have to start to this divide with your team. And that's when you have to. That's when you see a team and then say, "Hey, we can't win with this guy. He's great, he's talented, but we can't win with this guy." Udonis, man, I see where you're coming from. I really do, but no, no, I don't buy it. There's been guys in the league that don't famously play defense, and their team makes up for it, plays safety for them, and they can win championships. Steph Curry was never really famously a lockdown defender. He plays pretty solid team defense. He'll close the gaps. He'll play the passing lanes really well. But Luka does that too. Like, yeah, he'll let the offensive player go right by him. I am not defending Luka Doncic as a defender at all. But if you're giving me 38 and 9, and then you're bumping it up a little for the playoffs, like this past year with Luka on the Lakers was the first time there was kind of a dip, but you can't blame him. He got traded midseason. LeBron got hurt a couple times, so I'm gonna give Luka a pass for this year. But I'm trying to like make sure my memory's good. Like the Mavericks went to the NBA Finals not more than 365 days ago. So we gotta give Lucas some credit there. He was the undoubted leader, got through the West, and just ran into a better team in the Boston Celtics, if I'm being honest. So, Udonis, I get your criticism, but nah, I'm not with you there, play. Not with you there. Um, Last thing with the chatter, Tracy McGrady joined the Old Man in the Three podcast, and he made kind of a bold claim about someone that he thinks has better handle than Kyrie Irving. Uh, Still love watching Kyrie. He said. Then the host Timmy Alter asked him, "Is there anyone you've seen with handle like that?" And then he says, "Yeah, Jamal Tinsley. I don't think nobody got better handles than Jamal Tinsley, even Kyrie Irving." And I know like the former NBA guys usually want to give like an underrated player love by kind of putting them above players that are typically the guys that everyone puts at the top echelon. But dude, come on, Kyrie. The only people I really want to hear in the category of Kyrie and basketball and ball handling is Iverson, maybe like a Tim Hardaway, like a Pistol Pete Maravich. I'm just trying to think of great hand. Obviously, like Steph Curry's of the world, James Harden's of the world, but you know, I don't know. I just wanted to mention that one quickly. I thought that was interesting. Usually the people that are brought up in competition of Kyrie with ball handling, I kind of can go for, but that one was a miss for me, Tracy. I'm sorry. I love you, T Mac. Love you. Big fan. Big fan. But no, that missed for me, player. Um, Quickly, I just wanted to go over Game 4 of the NBA Finals that just went down just the other night. And the Thunder win 111 to 104. And I just wanted to mention it briefly because obviously I'm going to keep going over again. Head coach of the Pacers, Rick Carlisle, former coach of the Mavericks, got us the win 2011 NBA Finals. And eventually I'm going to get like a 2011 Finals recap episode thing going that'll be coming down the pipeline soon. But just wanted to kind of go over like what the Pacers need to do to bounce back here. And for me, it's kind of somebody needs to take over for them. I think and I'm always going to go back to that 2011 Finals. They don't have a guy like Dirk Nowitzki that's like taking over. It feels like everyone on the Pacers right now is playing like the other guys and no one's being the guy. And I think everybody expects it to be Halliburton. I think Siakam could kind of take some of that on. He's not really being aggressive enough to me. But to me, on this team, it has to be Halliburton or Siakam. It just seems like Halliburton just doesn't have that switch to give you 30 a night. He's not going to be able to match SGA, the MVP of the league, 35 points tonight. Yeah, I don't know. I see the Pacers' only path is Halliburton giving you 30, 15, and 10. And honestly, since the last time he did it, I haven't seen him do it. So the series is 2-2, and we'll see what happens. But I think the Thunder have now taken control of this series, and once optimistic about this series for the Pacers, I feel real good about the Thunder moving forward. But this has been Mavs Latest. I am Josyah Howard, and let's get it.